Fall is my favorite time of year for photography. As the temperatures begin to drop, the leaves on the trees start to change into their fall wardrobe. Because it's so short-lived, it pays to be prepared. And with that in mind, here are 15 tips to help you improve your fall photography. My first tip is to use a tripod. When you are shooting fall scenes, you are typically stopping down your aperture for greater depth of field and using the lowest ISO setting in your camera for the best image quality. As a result, you'll need a longer shutter speed to get enough light for a proper exposure, especially during the golden hours of sunrise and sunset when the lighting is the best. Don't forget, if you have image stabilization, make sure you turn it off when using a tripod. My second tip is to avoid windy days. If tree branches and leaves move during your exposure, they will be blurry. You can use a higher ISO to get a faster shutter speed, but that will affect your image quality. If it's windy, plan to come back another day if possible instead. My third tip is to create abstracts with motion blur. My first two tips were all about keeping your images super sharp, but by using a slower shutter speed and moving your camera intentionally, you can create interesting and unique abstract compositions. This works best when you have strong lines and move parallel to them. Alternatively, you can do this in Photoshop using the motion blur filter and adjusting it around 300 to 500 pixels or more. Here's tip number 4, overcast days. Overcast days can be great for minimizing the stark contrast you normally get on a bright and sunny day. Cameras have limited dynamic range, and overcast days will help you to keep your exposure within that range. When shooting on overcast days, try to avoid too much of the bright white sky. This will create an unwanted focal point in your images since our eyes are drawn to the brightest part of the image. My fifth tip is to use backlighting. Backlighting in a scene creates an incredible glow in your fall foliage on bright sunny days. But be careful, as the dynamic range of the scene can far surpass the range of our camera's ability to capture light from the brightest to the darkest parts of the scene. Be sure to pay attention to your histogram and avoid exposure with high levels all the way to the left or the right of your histogram. Tip number 6 is to use a polarizing filter. Polarizers aren't just for enhancing your blue skies. Polarizers are great for minimizing reflections on non-metallic objects, cutting through a slight amount of haze, and letting the true colors of foliage show in your images. Leaves have a waxy surface that will reflect the sky and show glare. Using a polarizer will cut through this glare and reflection, making your colors more vivid. My seventh tip is to use neutral density filters with moving water. Using a slow shutter speed with moving water creates a beautiful, blurred, silky water effect, but getting that slow shutter speed can be a challenge. Using a neutral density filter will block light, allowing you to use a slower shutter speed. Variable neutral density filters are great since you can compose and focus with the filter set to its lowest setting, then once you are ready, turn the filter to darken the image. Tip number 8 is to use enhancing filters. Enhancing filters are my favorite fall filter. These filters enhance the reds, yellows, and oranges in your scene. It's like Photoshop in a filter. Be sure to set your white balance to the appropriate preset such as daylight, cloudy, or set a custom white balance without the filter attached. Otherwise, your camera's auto white balance may try to correct the enhanced colors. My ninth tip is to set your white balance. White balance allows us to calibrate our cameras to the type of light in our scene, but we don't always need to match up the white balance to the light in our scene. Setting your white balance to cloudy on a sunny day will give your photos warmth with minimal processing required. Tip number 10 is to shoot snow with fall colors. Typically this happens in the latter part of the fall season, but sometimes we get lucky and get an early dusting of snow, and this can really give your fall photos a beautiful look. The white snow contrasts with the colors in your scene and helps your colors to really stand out even more. If you see snow in the forecast, don't put your camera away, but instead get out in the snow and bring home some great pictures. Tip 11 is to get closer. Fall is a great time to shoot wide scenic vistas with a variety of trees showing different colors, but don't forget to capture the details. Find that perfect leaf and focus on that. Find a unique tree against different ones in the background and anything else interesting you might find. My 12th tip is to shoot in RAW and post-process your images. DSLR cameras do a good job of providing us with images that look good straight out of the camera with possible adjustments to color, contrast, and hue. But by shooting in RAW, not only do you save all the data the camera captured, it opens up tremendous opportunity in post-processing. I prefer to use Lightroom to edit my photos, but there are several RAW editors, including the software that came with your camera. Tip number 13. Look for interesting foregrounds. Giving your viewers an anchor point in your images can help to draw them into your scene. Look for anything interesting in the foreground or add your own interesting thing to the foreground. A picture is a story, and all good stories have a beginning, a middle, and an end. Be sure to apply this to your photos as well. My 14th tip is to check out the ski resort webcams. If you're wondering if the colors in the mountains are turning yet, you can drive up and see for yourself or try to find fall foliage reports online. But if you live in an area with ski resorts, you can check out their webcams from the comfort of your own home and save your gas for when the colors are better. If you don't live in an area with ski resorts, you might check with the Forest Service and see if they have a station with a webcam in the area you are interested in photographing. Remember that the trees change earlier at higher elevations, so if you live at a lower elevation and the colors look great at your home, it might already be too late up higher. My final tip is to dress warm with layers. Not as much a photo tip, but keeping comfortable can help you stay out longer and get more photos. In the fall, the temperatures can swing much more dramatically, and being prepared for cooler weather is important. Dressing in layers allows you to add and remove clothing to maintain a comfortable temperature, no matter what Mother Nature throws at you. Using these 15 tips will help you capture better fall photos, whether you're in your own backyard, shooting in the iconic New England area, or in the Southwest. Fall is an amazing time, so get out there and take lots of photos. Be sure to follow me on Facebook, Twitter, and visit my website for more photography tips and equipment reviews.